morning. Come up from the wine cellar. How are you, everyone? I thought I'd make an entrance today. I've got to vary this thing. I'm not going to do that again. Did my knees in. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to be talking about, as you notice, Dave is not here. It's because we don't live together. We're not lovers and we're not married. But he will not be here for a little while longer. But it's not because we've fallen out or anything. We deeply love each other. Have I? I have. I've got a hole in my trousers. Get my sewing needle out next time. It could have been embarrassing. Yeah, so Dave, I can't say what it's all about, but he's fine and he's at work and he can't make it to these things. So sorry we have to say that each time. But he did tell me he's very keen to get back to us. All right. So, and he's a lovely, lovely guy and I love him dearly, but not in that way. I think I'm allowed to love him dearly, but not in that way still. Does that society still allow that? I don't know. It's all very confusing, but I'm going to go along with it anyway. Anyway, I'm going to talk about, there's been a few active shooter type stuff, hasn't there? And there's been some criticism with the Americans in Texas because they had something like 370 police officers turn up and nobody actually went in. Mick, hello, welcome, good afternoon from North Devon. Ian, I see on Twitter you've been eating lots of ice creams, keeping well out of cream tea arguments because you started that one off. You'll be talking about bicycles next and then you'll be in trouble. Yeah, thank you, Rose. Joining us from Facebook. Thank you. It's quite a skinny bum, actually. I don't think it does look big. It's too skinny. Need to pack some meat on there. What's this? You, Pauline, you say I keep up with Dave and Finn on Facebook and really miss them on the chat. Yeah, so do I. And I'm sorry, but it'll eventually be okay. So basically, what I was trying to say is, as a former firearms officer, I just wanted to explain what the British side of things is with similar circumstances on the armed response side of things. And if there's an active shooter, if there's a school thing, then are we prepared? What do we do? And I think we'll just start. A few years ago, it used to be a few years ago when I joined, you used to get a firearms job and then we get a call out on a pager like the lifeboat crew get, beep, 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 beep. And we'd feel so important. And we'd run to the police station and get our guns out the safe. And then we'd go to the scene. And by that time, it was usually all over and the locals had taken them over. The guy in the pub with a gun in his belt had been taken over by some drunk local. And that was the end of that. There were some pretty good jobs as well, mind you. There were some pre-planned jobs, armed robberies, I remember. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to join. I saw these guys going out in these cars with their MP5s and it just looked like one hell of a lot of fun. Yeah, I did go on the rail trail from Par to Newquay, 10 pubs in about 10 hours. Get a stamp at each one, and then you get a free T-shirt at the end. Unfortunately, I think 8 of the pubs had no idea what we were talking about, and certainly didn't have the stamps. So we called it a feasibility study in the end, and we'll critique the trail later on. But I think there's some teething issues. Before we go any further this evening, well, last evening, just a few meters up the road at Lusty Glaze Beach, there was this. It was the Ibiza night at Newquay, Lusty Glaze Beach. Look at that. You see the sea there with the lights and the people. All those people for Ibiza night were my age. You could tell they were reminiscing over their 30 years. And today it's going to be Symphony by the Sea tonight. And I might nip down there for half an hour just to see what it's like. And they've got like a winch. And I might hook my mother onto it and then just freewheel her down while no one's looking, and then just hoist her back up again. Blindfold her, she won't know. It'll be fine. Thomas. Hello, Thomas. Nice to see you. Right. So that was in the old days, wasn't it? Then, of course, they got the armed response, and I was part of the teams that not started the armed response cars, but we in Devon and Cornwall, we dual rolled in roads policing, traffic and guns. And so we would go, and that's why it's called guns. And so basically, road traffic fatals and guns, dual rolled. And that's what that book is about. All the best bits, all the saddest bits, the fun bits, and that's what Farms and Fatals is about. All the other adventures I had, I put into a novel so I could just mix it all about. And so that's both of those available on Amazon and audio and all that sort of thing. I need to put that through because I need to make some money. And they're both 4.6 out of 5 on Amazon. So I'm really pleased about that. So that was Lusty Glaze. That was good. Right. So then we got the armed response side of things, and that was fun because we're going to farm jobs, you're going to serious injury, fatal road traffic collisions. More and more nowadays, and when I was the 10 years when I was driving, so I was in there like 23 years on the armed response, we were going to pretty much everything because response are running out of people. And so when Theresa May, have I mentioned her before, but when she cut 20,000 resources a few years back, we were like, no, because we knew we were going to be in the poo. And guess what? We're in the poo. So that's where we were now. I'll show you some of you may have seen this before. This is the family. This is my section when we were out and about. A very approachable bunch, as you can see. The sharp-eyed amongst you can recognize the eyes of a woman in the middle there. You can see she's got the stripes on. She took over the section when I'd left. And she's moved on to other things. So the section, I've turned my back for 5 seconds and it's changed beyond recognition. But it was a good bunch of people. You get a job in, and say it is an active shooter like a school. Prior, there was a job. I was going to look it up actually, but it was a barbecue, and I think it was Sussex or Essex. I think it was Essex. And there was a barbecue went off, and it was like, "Hi, police! My uncle's gone mad, and he's just like stabbed a load of us, or shotguns, I think it was. And I mean, we're really injured, and we need help." And I think it was like an hour or 2 hours before police entered, because it was all health and safety, threat assessments, and everyone was. They couldn't make a decision because they didn't want officers to go in and then get murdered and stuff like that, and it was not appropriate. Raoul Moat was another one. Lots of injured people and basically members of the public trying to stem the flow of blood and things like this. And all those other resources like paramedics were kept out. Manchester, I think, was something similar as well. Should not be happening. You get a good commander. And I think in Texas, the problem there seems to be there's so many police from so many different locations. They all wanted a piece of the cake, but they didn't actually want to go in there. And there was nobody taking overall command of it. I think we're pretty good in this country. We should be. That's why you have Bond Civil Gold with all these other rank systems for all these other departments. With firearms, armed response, they are unique when they have operational farms commander, tactical farms commander, strategic farms commander, and they take overall precedence. And they are 24 hours and they're on response, and they are going through these jobs all the time. And then they go through training all the time. And so that when these jobs come up, it should be second nature. So then you get, I was an operational farms commander who is one of the people that go in and direct a team in, having been given information by the tactical farms commander, who was the old Silver. The overall review of the whole thing and the overall person who ratifies everything is the strategic farms commander, the gold, the big man or woman who's up there, far way up there. And so they're the gold. Usually sort of superintendent, chief superintendent, ACC level. So you get a job. Now, initially depends on which force, but mostly in control rooms, they will have an inspector who is running the whole show. So he's dealing with the pursuits and the things, and he's been given or she's been given priority jobs. So school shooting would come in. That would be a priority job. There you go, boss. Boss is straight onto it. Bang, gets the ARVs en route straight away. This isn't looking good. We've just had 4 calls, 5 calls, 6 calls now. Okay, this is looking like a genuine thing. So they're sending units, and then he's assessing. What have we got? Have we got enough to authorise firearms? Just get yourself on the way for now, and I will update you. There'll be a firearms tactics advisor will be informed. I was also a firearms tactics advisor. So then I'd swallowed the manual of do's and don'ts and options, availabilities. And so it was like, right, boss, these are your options. You're not allowed to sort of suggest, but those are your 3 options, perhaps, but you might want to have a look at this one in particular, in my view. So that was the sort of thing. And then you get a lot of experience gained, even from little jobs and trying to find suspects. And they're really looking. Can they identify who these people are? What's their capability and what's their intent? These are the crucial thing. We call it ICI. So do we know who they are? Okay. So we believe we've got, we don't know their names. We don't know where they're from. They're just someone in the school. Okay. What's the capability? Well, it might be the fact we don't know. In that case, that heightens it a bit because we don't have the information and intelligence to bring the whole thing down. They're 12-year-old schoolboys with no previous convictions. It's unlikely they managed to get a AR-15 fully automatic assault rifle. So, so then it's going to be a little bit more proportionate approach on that one. But if it's something like, no, there's nothing to calm it down sort of thing. And what's the intent? You might have had someone, there's letters being found, there's been he's shouted something as he's entering the school. It could be something like that. And we need to find out what do we know is fact and what are we assuming? Okay, so a fact is, well, that's this person, his is criminal record. So we know this. What are we assuming? Oh, well, we've got, somebody said that it's got a bloke in their 40s that have run in with a gun. Okay, we're assuming it's a gun. We're assuming is it live? Is it a real gun, or is it or is it a tennis racket? We don't know. So let's corroborate that. Can we corroborate it? Yeah, the guy who actually saw them has been in the military for 15 years. He swore it was an assault rifle. Okay. Or we're hearing bang, bang, bangs. Because a question would be for me, somebody's been seen firing a gun in the woods. Okay. My question to the boss would be, sir, do we know if it went bang or click? Or because that's a crucial piece of information. And often it's like, I don't know, we'll have a look. And often it was like, oh yeah, it was a funny little sound. Okay. Now BB guns can be nasty and they can blind you with these metal pellets and stuff. It's like, but it's not quite the same, is it, than someone going in with an assault rifle. But you've got to act fast. Well, you can't have a briefing about it. I think they worked out that the average death rate, quite frankly, per minute with an active shooter is 8 people in 1 minute, is on the average. And I think they got that from Israel. So these are the sort of things. So we'll have a little chat for 2 minutes. Well, you've probably lost 16 people. So you need to, and it's called emergency search. So if you've got school children in there, the TA and certainly the firearms tactics advisor or TACAD, you might be saying, would be saying, boss, really, we're looking at an emergency search on this because everything's looking towards it's a shooting and whatever. And we've heard reports and there's numerous reports coming in. And so it would be first units there should be assessing it and going in. When I say assessing it on the hoof and going in. I had one of those jobs when there was a shooting that had been seen, and I was literally on my own. And I went in because we believed somebody had been shot and they were bleeding out. And I couldn't wait for what was then, through bad circumstances, 45 minutes or 35 minutes for the other ARV to turn up. So it was a little bit John Wayne-y with my gun on my side going through the door. Turned out it wasn't. It was another very loud bang with some Eastern Europeans in there. But that, ironically enough, was called in by a former military guy who'd been in the military for quite some time. So you're looking, as a TA and as those TACADs, those the TA, the Firearms Tactics Advisor, and the operation and the Tactical Firearms Commander, they will be getting their heads together as well and saying, right, what's the information intelligence we've got? And these are as the units are getting to the scene. They'll be getting units information back from non-armed units. They won't be keeping non-armed units away. They'll be saying, get close as you can where it's safe to do so behind ballistic cover, so you can not only can you report back, but you can stop other people from going in. There's no point sending unarmed people into that sort of situation, is there? And now you're sending in the firearms officers. So what is that threat assessment for each one? So you've got all the kids in the schools. Can you get the schools out? Can you get a safe route, so to speak, out the back? Can you phone in? Have you got a number with someone in there that's feeding you back this information? So you can get either you can take out the problem that's causing the issues and shooting, whatever, or you can hopefully remove the potential target. Okay, and it's often we do that when you've got a bad guy going after a victim. Well, let's go after the bad guy. Well, hang on a minute. Can we remove the victim? So suddenly the bad guy turns up and they're like, right, where are they? Where are they? It's unlikely that that bad guy would, after a specific person, will go, oh, shoot some random person instead. You can't dismiss it, but it's less likely, shall I say. They're looking at the powers. What are we nicking these people for? Well, okay, it's clear for a shooter in there. Yeah, you're looking at attempt murders and things like this, aren't you? Unlawful possession of firearms at the end of the day. And a very popular one I used to have, which would fit, is to be in possession of a firearm or imitation firearm with the intent to cause fear of unlawful violence. So there's always something in your back pocket that you'd be looking at. But then these officers, they're not just going in like pew, 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 pew. They're looking. Is it what they're doing is justified? Yes, it is. Is it proportionate? You know, am I going in with a big sledgehammer to hit a tiny nut? Is it a 14-year-old kid with a pea shooter? And are we going in with a cannon? You know, is it proportionate? Is it lawful what we're doing? Yeah. Okay. Is it and is it necessary? Yeah, it is to save lives. So there's the easy ones, isn't it? And we need to audit what we're doing. So it doesn't mean stop and write it down, but that's what body-worn cameras, are they going? Let's get these on. And then you've got your tactical options available to you. I mean, it's varied slightly, but this is the nuts and bolts of it. The tactical options, and there's numerous. One of those tactical options is wait. Why are we waiting? What I would often say to them, sometimes we're waiting because there's no immediate rush. The person says he's going to go and shoot his girlfriend with a shotgun that we know he has. So the girlfriend is now safe in the police station, but the bad guy doesn't know that. So we're going to rush the house and arrest him, and he gets his shotgun and goes chung 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 chung. Or should we just keep an eye on the house and wait till he comes out to go to work? Because we'll know whether he's carrying a shotgun with him or not, because he can't hide that very well unless he's coming out with a very bad limp. So those are the sort of things. So that's the thing where you take the potential victim away and then deal with the offender slow time, so to speak. It could be that you do negotiations, you contain, negotiate, and you do that only if it doesn't cause further risk for other people outside and that side of things. It could be that you use subterfuge. You go in as a post office. The old favorite was to go in as a postman and go in there and then grab them. It could be the fact that you park a police car outside a jeweler's where you don't know when they're going to do it and you don't know who they are that's going to do this jewelry robbery, but you want to put them off. And so you park a police car outside because they don't want to shut permanently, of course. And of course, it could be that you do vehicle interceptions. For a terrorist, it could be that you're just going to shoot them. You're not going to give them any warning because they've got a backpack and they've got a little trigger button that they would do. And so often abroad, if they've been found out by the cops, I'll just go, oh, well, I'll take a few with me now. So that's the sort of thing. So it would be. And we were taught, even in Devon and Cornwall. Remember, we had the Giraffe Cafe, Nicky Riley, who blew up the cafe because he'd been radicalized in Plymouth, went up to Exeter, had a very viable device that didn't go off as it should have, but would have destroyed the cafe with everyone in it. So this can happen in Devon, Cornwall, anywhere where they can radicalize people that are easily led. Yeah. So basically, what I was saying. So so that would be literally to walk up to them from behind and, putting it bluntly, you empty a magazine just between their ears and the back. Sorry about that, everyone. And you would empty it, and it's to stop that reflex reaction what they've got to go, because if you just shoot someone without too much detail, they might go hey, like that. So it's to destroy that part of the brain. And that is trained. That's trained because you need to get used to the fact of walking and shooting at the same time, because a lot of people go bang, 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 and they walk and they stop shooting because they walk. It's two things at once. I don't know. You get it very quickly. So it's actually fine. So that's the sort of thing I would like to think now, because that barbecue instance that happened, that was a very well-known case, I think in Essex, that was very well known. It was, the police were very highly criticised. I was very disappointed at Manchester. I don't know why that's happened. Apart from there was some leadership there that was, as I think has come out in the, I haven't listened to it all, but in the public investigation there, that there was some shoddy leadership. When there was, I think, the Strategic Farms Commander, SFC, turned up. Was it them who turned up in a taxi because there was a question of they'd been drinking or something because they were on call? What's that all about? So I know in DNC it's very slick because we're quite remote and we can't rely on everyone else. There is links with special forces. I won't go into that, but we did train with those as well. We know, and you've got the specialist farms officers, and so we're all built up for it. But remember, I remember Sean Sawyer, who was our chief constable. He still is at the moment. He's leaving soon. He was concerned when all these terrorist incidents were happening, because it was still going to take 10 minutes to get an ARV there, an armed response there, 10, 15 minutes. And then if that first armed response car was taken out, then that could be a longer wait. And so he was thinking, is it going to be the time where we're like PSNI, where every officer carries a sidearm? And this is a crucial thing to remember. With America, everyone just imagines they're all like SWAT. They're not. They train self-defense firearm type thing and to protect themselves. But then you've got your SWAT, which is a little bit more like the armed response, who do the building searches, working as teams to going like that. And then you've got your SFOs, specialist farms officers, who are more trained specifically in hostage recovery and that side of things, dynamic entry, that side of things. So, but in fairness, the ARVs get all the jobs because they're spontaneous, always spontaneous, whereas the SFOs are more pre-planned. But obviously, the more metropolitan their area is, the more spontaneous they're going to deal with as well. That is it in a nutshell, people. So I think, yeah, it is. I mean, I was a couple of times when I came near to shooting people, there was a helicopter up there, everything was being filmed, and I knew my next few seconds would have been looked at in great detail, and I would have been called the murdering, police officer and it would be, we had one several years ago where the newspaper was unarmed granddad of two, shot dead by police. Well, this granddad of two was completely zoned out with drugs, alcohol, and mental health, and had a machete and was just about to lob off the head of a police officer. And less lethal was tried initially and didn't work. Let's just see, there was something you mentioned there of Canada. Let's just bring this up, which is what Colette, thank you, Hamilton Gray. In Canada, all officers carry guns around the waist. Recently, they had an armed robbery in Victoria. Police and special forces ran to the scene. The only people to die were the robbers. 6 police were shot, but all great now. No members of the public were shot. The Texan thing seems as if they took too long. Yeah, and that's it. And that's why leaders are so important, why we're a little bit worried. I'll tell you, between you and me, a little bit worried about direct entry and being promoted too quick, because everything's a bit of a tabletop exercise for these people. They haven't got much practical experience. And I'm a little bit worried that decisions are going to be very slow. And will they have the moral courage? Cressida Dick had the moral courage on the information and the intelligence that she had, that there was a guy going down to the underground with a rucksack ready primed, ready to blow up a whole load of people 7 days after it happened previously. That's moral courage. And that's called, nowadays, it's called critical shot, to say, shoot them. So it's serious stuff, and you'll get your armchair experts who say, you should have just talked to them nicely and told them to just put the trigger away, and then I'm sure they'd have done it. I won't go on this too much because it's probably still ongoing. I'm not sure. Is this one still ongoing? Regards a terrible thing this was. In regards a terrible shooting in Plymouth, in regards to the shooting in Plymouth last year, I'm not sure of the legal side. I think, did it come to conclusion? But I won't talk about it too much. It was less than 8 minutes before the first ARV arrived. You'd be hard pressed to find that response time in London, let alone in this county city. That was my patch on the armed response, and many of those people involved on the armed response were my section. Thank you, Mick. And so you know exactly what's going through their minds. And I'll tell you now, when you go into a scene, you get, a control room is saying, as one call has been made, that this is that, and whatever's happening. You're like, okay, you've got to treat it as genuine all the time until that information sort of, okay, this is looking a bit crap now. Okay, we can just reduce it a little bit. We'll be cautious, but we're going to just slow it down a little bit. Not slow it down, but we're going to get to the scene as quickly as, but we're not going to be running in there with guns out and everything like that, because all the information intelligence is saying it's a hoax or whatever. You know, if you get a call that there's 20 people dead in the high street of Plymouth and it's just the one call, they're sort of thinking, okay, I think this is a hoax. And the kid sounded like his voice hadn't broken. Do you know what I mean? That one there, when you're getting multiple calls and you're saying there's several people injured, killed, that is then, okay, hair goes up in the back. But I'll tell you now, you're in training mode. Everything slots in. The TA, the OFC, TFC, SFC, you're going in there. You know all your officers around. What's your direction? What's your ETA? Right, what's the estimated time of arrival? Where's the subject now? CCTV following them. We're getting information like that. Right, their priority is, we got enough units going to the subject. Have we got them? We're going to want to get that medical assistance. That's why armed response are so highly trained medically as well. I mean, our kit was full of stuff in the end. Blood coagulants. We used to do cannulation. They've got oxygen, loads of blast bandages. They've got really strong painkillers now that we can use. So they're a handy bunch, and there are lots of training, practical training, because we dealt with a lot of road traffic collisions, first on the scene an awful lot of the time, especially now at the moment with the ambulances being so hard pressed. So the armed response units are usually the 4x4 side of things, first on scene, and they're hands in, dirty, getting in there, sticking their fingers in wounds, stopping that blood, that side of things. Do you feel it's fair that even though a court finds it to be lawful killing, that officers still face calls from IOPC for gross misconduct? No. I mean, I don't trust the IOPC as far as I can see them. I never used to say that, but a despicable bunch of people. There's going to be a few people who are fine in there. Don't confuse that with PSD, Professional Standards Unit, which every force has. There's various ones there, but a lot of them, the hands are tied with investigations. The IOPC, Independent Office of Police Complaints, Conduct rather. They, to be honest, they do some good work. They get rid of some horrible, nasty people from the police, and they need to do that. But they wouldn't hesitate to step on the faces and grind them into the ground of good officers who have just been doing their job when many of those IOPC people would not even consider working a late shift, let alone facing the dangers that police officers face. It's absolutely despicable and it has to change, but I doubt it will. Now put the gun down, there's a good chap. Sergeant Wilson from Dad's Army. That's right, Mick. I think it is. So we'll go through very quickly, see what's happening on Twitter. I'll spray that again. I think I just covered my keyboard with DNA. Let's have a quick look at see what's going on in the Twitter world before. Oh, what's going on here? What is going on? I don't know. There we go. It's coming. My computer is a standing computer, which is a little bit steam driven. There we go. Right. Let's get this. There we go. Right. What's on Twitter at the moment? Oh, look. Let's get past that then. Police pay. Yeah, it's a bit of a rip-off by the sounds of it. Protect our police. Really good account. Protect our, letter R, police. And basically, they're saying £1,900 for the officers. That's to retain the very new officers. Very shortly, they think a third of all police officers will be probationers. That's frightening when you consider that a very small percentage of police officers are on frontline. The rest are doing a lot of crucial background stuff, but such as domestic violence and that side of things, which they're not patrolling the streets and they're not going and arresting the people, but they're doing the investigation and the safeguarding and that side of things. And they're doing things like, public order, training and stuff like that. I mean, there's numerous. So it's speaking for my brothers. My brother is in his boat at the moment, sailing south of Bergen, and he's going through the fjords. And he said, "What?" He said, "I'm going to have to leave you to it, guys." Well, we were on WhatsApp, and he said, "Wind's getting strong, so got to go." Says Garen, leaves conversation, and I said, and that was the last we ever heard or saw from him again. I said to Charlie, my other brother, who's in France with COVID. And Garen went, "I can still hear you." So it was quite amusing. What they're talking about, did you hear about the masses of very few police officers actually making any arrests? That's because, again, very few officers are on the front line. That's a tiny part of policing, is going out making arrests. I don't know that, it was very much get out there, go and get the bad guys and girls. Now, I wouldn't be pushing officers to do that. They're only going to get themselves trouble. They don't get the backing, not necessarily from certain senior officers and media and that side of things. So why the hell stick your neck out? That's what they want. That's what they'll get. And so, it's hard to actually say, go find these people, stop search them, find all the drug dealers and that side of things. You're just bringing trouble onto themselves. So it's going to be down that way. There was also this thing called Code G, which was just a couple of years before I left. And that was brought in to say, well, why are you arresting them? Do you need to arrest them? Why couldn't you have voluntarily, given them an appointment? You know where they live. You know what they are. There's no evidence for them to hide. So make an appointment for Saturday afternoon to see them at the station. And that is a lot more of that is happening rather than being handy to just nick them, take them down, interview and get the file in. And of course, and it says, this Brago guy says, stop search too many people, it's racist. Stop too few and knife crime is their fault. Arrest too few and it's an issue. Arrest too many people and they kick off. Fed up with this wet country, he says. And he's not talking about the weather, I think. And these are the sort of thing, I don't want to go back too much about the police pay cuts, but it just shows, and it's just despicable. The police pay, UK inflation, it's got there, the equivalent, and the difference. So in 2006, the difference was plus 0.54%, I think the biggest, and it's gone down. It went down 3% in 2011. Went up over 0.5% in 2015. It's gone down the equivalent 2022. They've got a 2% to be confirmed pay rise with inflation of 9.1%. I think so. It's minus 7.1% is they saying is the issue there. And I think that's what it comes down to. You can tell people that joining the police is great. Come and join the police. It's really good for you. It's great. But at some point, you're going to have to pay them some money to keep them there, especially because they can't afford to live. And if they are working the free half hours. So if I can explain, they will. We work half hour for the Queen up to 4 times a week. So if officers are doing 2 hours free and they've just joined as well, they're doing shifts, full shifts, going to all that stuff for 37p above the minimum wage. It's not going to be right, especially if you are middle-aged man or woman with a family at home and you're having to deal with all the degree work stuff that is going in. It's all a bit messy. Interesting question here. Do you think ex-military should fast track into the police even though they might not have degrees? I think they're a very useful bunch of people. In Devon and Cornwall, we've relied on them for an awful long time, and most of them are very, very good. Disciplined, life experience. Devon and Cornwall, they didn't want young whippersnappers. They wanted people who've been through a divorce. They wanted someone who'd had a small business as an electrician and it's gone down the tubes. They wanted people to realize and understand people's problems so that they could deal with it in the right way, perhaps. So that was a good one, isn't it? Karma, no need for revenge. I don't normally go for these things, but I thought that was good. Just sit back and wait. Those who hurt you eventually screw up themselves. And if you're lucky, God will let you watch. I think another one I quite like is the best form of revenge is be happy. That really winds people up. Empaths, yeah. Can never get enough sexual health advice. Thank you, Empaths. Morning all. Stay safe and don't forget protection. Don't think that's what they meant. And this, I need to really just bring this one in. Just this one first. Yeah, never seems to right. The world is full of people who think they know the law. The police on the streets need to know the law. It's a shame that it's not as simple as nick 'em Dano anymore. Tony Long, I had the talk with. He gave a talk to post-citizen managers, so those who actually assist with, and I was put in with that position where if there'd been a police shooting, they wanted experienced people who their officers trusted to act as a confidant sort of thing, facilitate the inquiry, but with the welfare of the officers in mind. Never seems fair. I still remember Tony Long from the Met getting arrested and charged 10 years after being involved in a police shooting. Yeah. And of course, it's big, it's like kill a cop, strikes again. But it actually, one of those was the robber got the shotgun off to him way before he managed to get it back at him. So he just dodged this shotgun going off past his head. So I think that's justified. The other one just is justified, all three of them. But of course, and then he was commended by the judge for his actions on the third one. But it was like turned up in the small village where it had happened, this armed robbery had happened. And the local and all the national papers, of course, they didn't want to know about it. They'd been talking about kill a cop all this time. This one here was a genuine complaint against the search and rescue helicopter base. And this just shows the sorts of complaints, isn't it? Where, read it. It's on my timeline. It's quite long, so I won't say it. But he's saying that, your helicopters are too noisy. My colleague who... slow, so I'll get rid of that. My colleague who ran the base as such and is pilot, and it wasn't from this country, but he's British. And the complaint was, you need to consider more about the local community here because I represent the community and they're getting really annoyed at your loud helicopters. And so he said, well, I'm terribly sorry about that. And I've been round to all the manufacturers, including Sikorsky and whatever, and I keep asking them to make quieter engines, and they keep saying that they've given us the quietest ones they've got. And she said this one. She said, "No, I'm not. I'm with you. I think there's something because I remember an '80s documentary about helicopter with this almost silent called Airwolf." So why they think things haven't progressed since that, I don't know. And maybe even proceeded to visible helicopters, which would be good for your good sales, of course, but particularly difficult if they have landed and you don't know whether there's one there already, of course. He said, and by pure coincidence, I think the 25,000 people we've saved with our search and rescue helicopters have never complained about the noise as we've come to save them. So, but anyway, well, I'll be paying particular attention. And if search and rescue helicopter pilots have been just flying helicopters around at night at low level just for the fun of it, then I will put a stop to it immediately. He hasn't received a reply back. John, welcome. Lovely to see you here, my friend. Right, looking at those, the world is full of people who think they know. I think I've done that one, haven't I? Yeah, so it is a freedom once you leave the police. It is a freedom to be able to say a little bit more what you like. But I've found it's always good to keep that level of vetting as such, because people don't listen to a shouty, noisy person who just wants to complain about stuff all the time. And so I try to keep off too much, but it's difficult about, the poor wages, because everyone's on poor wages and things like that. It's just, if you look at the graphs, the police are like, and everyone else is like, and the police and the prison officers are the worst of lot as far as pay over the last few. Totally forgotten. Yeah, so yes, and that was I think that is it. I'm going to let you all go home early. This is the one I'll just bring in if it's this little graph of policing, if it's not too late, if it comes up. Thank you for turning up, everyone. It's been lovely seeing you. I've got a guest coming in a couple of weeks' time, I think it is, and that is Steve Cooper, who I used to work not with because he was CID and I was but he was a highly respected guy, and he helps people get through promotion and things like that. So we're going to bring him in. He's to be interviewed to talk about the interview process and the promotion process and things like that. Just going to add that to the stream, see if that does. And this is the one I was talking about. It's not particularly clear on mine, but you can see the paramedics there in blue. Primary school, secondary school teachers is rubbish there, isn't it? Yellow police officers there. Social workers. Social workers blue, sorry. Nursery education. It seems like education is getting a kicking as well. Prison service officers, that one there. National government. Oh, admin. Wow, it's going Skylar. That's going on. Train drivers. Wow. I'm always slightly cautious because you can get statistics to say what you want, can't you, really? But I think that's it. I'm going to have a quick scan at the questions. If any of you are there and wish to throw some abuse or whatever, please do. I will treat it with the contempt it deserves. Let's have a little quick. Thank you very much. There is another YouTube channel. So if you've got people who are joining the police called Harry Tanguy, it took me ages to come up with that one. That has got a load of information, loads of sort of podcasts that I've done to deal with confrontation, dealing with shooting, dealing with dead people in the police, messy dead people, how you cope with it. And anyone who's feeling a little bit, I'm not sure if I could deal with a dead person. Never seen a dead person. Struggled when I saw my dead dog, sort of thing, But it's a very human thing, and I can hopefully put people's minds at rest with that, because you don't really know how you're going to react until it happens, of course. So there we go. Bye, Mick. Thank you very much. He's saying goodbye, and I think we'll leave it there, guys. And thank you very much for your assistance. And I will see you. Next week. Let's go for it. I'll have Arthur next week. 4 weeks I've had without him. I'm just going to go off and be sad. Bye.